Hello everyone, it's QuickFlash, and today I'm going to be going over an AMA. On Facebook I posted that I was willing to do an AMA, so we're going to go over those questions. Before we start though, we are doing a shirt contest with EmuFlight because some of these shirts didn't turn out super well. As you can see, this shirt's supposed to be blue. It's not, it didn't turn out super great, so we're having a shirt contest. It's due by January 23rd. Get your shirt design in by then. You don't need to make a new logo or anything. You could, that could be cool. But really just, go to some shirt making website, come up with something, make it look cool, and let us vote on that. And we will, by the 23rd, we're going to start voting on different shirt designs. So far, there are no designs that have come up, but I'm hoping for some cool designs. So I'm going to go to my AMA. I recorded this once earlier, but the audio and such was awful. I hated it, so I'm redoing it. Hopefully it's a lot better this time. And I've gone over it, so I should be able to answer these questions better. So first question is by Danny Patrick, and it's about presets for macro quads for 7-inch to 10-inch quads. And he's asking if we could get some of those made. So like you said, he's sure that Travis Brand or Chad Miller could wipe up a few presets. Yes, Danny, they really could. It's up to them, and I guess we'll just have to see, because they are the guys that know about 7-inch to 10-inch a lot better than me. I don't have any, and I couldn't make my own tunes. So pester Travis and Chad Miller if you'd like some tunes for that. I can't help you in that regard. If they do make some tunes, though, they'll get added to the configurator. Alright, next question, remote ID in the hobby. I don't want to cover this in this video because I think that would take up too much time and detract from everything else, but just a quick snippet of the remote ID. I'm not a fan of it, but I do think that it's a lot better than the original proposal. I still am not a fan, but it is better than what we all originally thought. Still not good though. Alright, Matt's Henning Reppin. When will you coerce BotGrinder and Cricket to post their presets? Well, like people are saying in the replies, I think they just fly stock. I haven't spoken to them, so I don't know for sure, but I'm fairly certain they just fly stock. I think for sure BotGrinder flies stock, and Cricket, I'm pretty sure he flies stock as well. So if you want to fly BotGrinder or Cricket presets, most likely it's just defaults. But if they do have some presets of their own, like perhaps Cricket has a Moongoat preset or something, yeah, pester him, see if he'll come up with something. If he gives it to us, we'll be happy to stick it on there. But yeah, I think they just fly stock. Alright, Dave Robinson, where do you go from here? EmuFlight is incredible straight out of the box. How do you improve it, and are you scared you're going to make anything worse? Where do we go from here? Well, version 1, moving forward, version 1 is going to be based on Betaflight 4.3, and that'll be a very, very good change for a lot of reasons. Currently, we're based on Butterflight, which was based on Betaflight, and it was based on Betaflight 3.5. So we've got some older code in there. It makes hardware support a lot trickier. It makes new flight controller support trickier. Currently, we don't support H7, and we won't until version 1, just because of all the work it would take to add it. Yeah, as for the question of how do we improve it, and are we scared of making anything worse? Well, improving it just comes from having ideas, testing them, and trying them. Making sure that I don't make anything worse is having a team of testers go out, fly things, test it, and try it. If they all come back and think it's better, or if at least quite a few of them like it, a few don't want to turn it on because it just doesn't quite fit them, but a bunch of others like it, then that's a good thing. So having dedicated testers is how we can make it better without it getting worse. That's really my answer there, is we come up with ideas. I'm constantly thinking of new ideas. So are other people. We come up with those ideas and we implement them, get them tested, And once they're tested, we go out and try to, get as much feedback as we can. If it's bad, if it's good, what's bad about it, what's good about it, go out, do that, and that's pretty much our goal. That's how we keep improving it. Perfect. So Emmett Drumgool, that's a cool name. I'm sure I butchered it. Sorry about that, Emmett. Emmett says, any word on Immersion RC Ghost implementation with EMU? I can't wait to try EMU. Yes, it's supported. Version 0.3.3 just came out. It has Ghost support. And it will be in version 1 as well. Ryan Holcomb, recommend a preset for my quad. I don't know what your quad needs. Just try a few presets, see what you like. That's my best. That's the best that I have for you. Is try a few presets, see if you like it. Try something similar to your drone. I don't know the presets off the top of my head anyways. Your second question, how do I tune EMU boost to decrease prop wash based on the above mentioned quad? Well, I only fly tiny whoops up to 5-inch. I don't have anything bigger or smaller. And there isn't really smaller than whoops. So what I'll do is I'll get P and D working really nice to try and get rid of prop wash and bounce back and all that stuff. Once I've really been playing with P and D, kind of got them both as high as I can and got my ratios nice, that's when I'll start to play with EMU boost a bit more. I'll start increasing that, and usually that's able to help eliminate the last bits of prop wash. And you can kind of do the same thing with D boost. Yeah, so I'll actually usually just set the limit to 100, just set it way above, kind of, so I don't ever hit the limit with my EMU boost. Set it fairly high, then just raise my boost. On some quads it'll be up to 500, other quads it'll be closer to 200. Generally on larger, more powerful quads like your 5-inch 6S, I don't need as much EMU boost. But that is able to help with prop wash as you get into those prop wash scenarios. This will kick your P more and can help alleviate some of that. Awesome. John W. Tarwater, can you make a hovercraft mode so I have a use for foreign ones that only have one dead ESC? Thinking about this, I don't know for sure the answer, but you might actually be able to do this just with the mixer, just custom motor mixers. You could potentially do this. I actually really think you could, because you just need to set up certain motors on throttle, and other motors are just doing yaw and throttle as well, I guess. So you can probably do this with just a custom mixer. See if you can look into that. I don't know. If not, yeah, we could. It's not really, something that's on our timetable right now. We've got other things we're working on. So potentially for the future, if just custom motor mixing can't do it. And then Curtis Bitterly, can you please make a Chinook mode? For those of you that don't know what a Chinook is, it's that helicopter that has 2 blades, one in the front, one in the back. It's that military helicopter. And can we please make a Chinook mode? Yes, we could. I'm not going to put any effort towards that, though. It's not really in the realm of what is normal for EMU flight. What I want to do is going to help the most users. And with everything that I've got to work on now to get version 1 ready and everything else going, this really just isn't on our radar. So, yeah, we can add it, but I'm not going to put in the effort for that. So if anyone else does, yeah, we can merge it. But that'll be using old helicopter code that hasn't been touched in ages, so I really can't even say how well it would fly if it was added. Yves Birchbill, I hope I said your name right. I probably butchered it. What's the best PID to fly the rates with RC smoothing that feel the best for 7-inch? Blah, blah, blah. Basically, you're asking what's the best tune for 7-inch. That really depends on your drone. Well, for the best rates in RC smoothing, default RC smoothing is quite good. I don't see many people that need to change it. And best rates, that's rates that you like. That's best. It's a personal thing. And best tune, kind of, try some different presets, try tuning yourself. It's, tuning is tuning, PIDs are PIDs. I can't really give you a direct answer. Every drone will be a bit different based on the weight, the balance, the electrical noise, everything that's going on. It'll change things. Cody Hollis, Purdue. EmuFlight works great on Whoops, but lacks Redpine support. Is there a way people like me could assist in getting it working with EmuFlight? The answer is yes. Well, maybe. I don't know you exactly. However, if you do want to help, if you know how to program in C, that would be very helpful, because EmuFlight is programmed in C. If you want to help out with our configurator, if you know JavaScript, that would be awesome as well. We always need more help getting these releases made and getting new code out there. So if you know C and can help port code from Betaflight, that would be awesome. If you know JavaScript and can help with the configurator, that would also be awesome. And yeah, that's really how you could help us out, is if you know how to program and can help make some pull requests on GitHub. Or if you have friends that know how to program and you can pester them into helping us, that also helps. Awesome. Pobs J. Asena. How hard is developing flight controller firmware, and what are you studying in school? So I'll answer the second question first. That's easier. I'm studying, well, my school has a new UAV major. I am studying that. I'm also planning on getting a minor in electrical and mechanical engineering. How hard is developing flight controller firmware? Well, I learned how to code by writing EmuFlight code. And I learned control theory by writing EmuFlight code and by actually just flying drones, testing new code, tuning, reading stuff online, reading papers, watching videos on control theory, all that kind of stuff. So I don't really know the best way to say how hard it is, because I learned from no experience at all. However, I did have some of that, a bit of engineering background, and I've built things in the past, been building my own remote control planes and drones for quite a while. So I did have some experience with all this sort of stuff. Experience with coding, though, I had none. So how difficult is it? I can't really say. However, with both the EmuFlight project and the Betaflight project, those users that write code which makes the drone fly better are far less than those that just know how to code. So if you know how to code, that seems to be more common than those that are writing code that changes how your drone flies. That seems to be more rare. Laurent Petit, he's got a whole bunch of questions. I'll skim over a few of them and go over them. But first question, is the G-force signal used in order to add a divisor to the PID like TPA? The answer is no, and it won't. It doesn't make a ton of sense for multi-rotors to do that. This next question, is it possible to develop a software that could help us delete all the unused functions of the code in order to put a last EmuFlight on an F3 and maybe use it in the future for F4 and F7 when, we're going to start phasing those out? The answer is yes, it is possible. It totally is. Is it something I'm going to put a bunch of effort into? No. I've got, EmuFlight version 1, other stuff that's more relevant. And nowadays, everything you buy is F4. F3 is becoming less and less and less prevalent. Sure, I butchered that. But yeah, F3 is going away already, and F4 is cheap. And I'm not going to put a bunch of my developing efforts towards dead and unused hardware. If other people want to do it, though, that's great, and I will totally support them. Lawrence Petit, again, how many persons make your team, devs, advanced pilot, beta testers for different flight controllers, blah, blah, blah. As far as beta testers for different flight controllers, that's a new flight controller is added. Somebody complains to us, says, I want to be able to fly this flight controller in EmuFlight, and we add it. By we, it's actually one guy that adds it. He's really cool. But that gets added, so beta testers for that, we got a whole bunch. Probably easily over 50 now with all the new flight controllers we've added. And as far as beta testers, more like EmuFlight testers, we've got, maybe a dozen or more active EmuFlight testers. And developers can actually come here to the EmuFlight GitHub, go over here to Insights, click Contributors, wait a second, just select this time frame because this is when EmuFlight's been around, updates since EmuFlight was a thing. And here's who's been helping. We've got me, QuickFlash. Here's what I've done. You can click this commits, see all the changes that I've done, and you'll see there's a whole bunch. There's 212. There's a lot. Come over here to Gretel. Gretel has been helping more with, originally helped out quite a bit getting a lot of stuff automated in GitHub and helping our development side of things, so he's been quite helpful. Recently he's been porting over some Betaflight code into EmuFlight. Nerdcopter has been kind of the maintenance guy, and he's been really great. He's also helped a fair bit with the configurator, so he's been awesome for those two things. And he's a team member. Kyle Juarez, he's the hardware guy. If you've ever asked for help with the flight controller and something about the flight controller wasn't working, this guy, Kyle, he's been who you've been hitting up. And he's been merging all that code and doing a bunch of cool hardware stuff. So he's great, really helpful. Low Twice, he's done more configurator stuff and code relating to that. Andre's done configurator and a bit of flight code. Powell Spychalski, he's the iNav developer. He's added the matrix filter and some changes to the Kalman filter. Tyler Corleone, he added the battery sag compensation, which was actually added first to EmuFlight, then Betaflight. And recently he's done a whole bunch of cool stuff with the motor mixer and the thrust linearization. So EmuFlight will be having a really cool thrust linearization in the future. It'll be different than what Betaflight has, and these mixer modes will be different than, well, I guess Betaflight's merged these new mixer modes that we've added as well, but we've got some slight differences to both of them, which there's some really cool things. Tyler's helped a bit with the flight code. This is essentially who's been helping. There's one guy not listed here that's also been helping. That is Igor. He's been helping out with some stuff. You can see here he's been working on Red Pipeline, or Red Pine. I mistakenly called it Red Pipeline a few times, so that kind of became a joke. But he's gone out and tried to help merge it, but it's a big mess merging some code from Betaflight back to EmuFlight, so it's... We'll see if it gets added. We'd really like to see it, but it's up in the air. Igor, he also is the one that added Ghost to EmuFlight. He ported that over from Betaflight. So really cool and really thankful for the work he's been putting in recently. Oh, not to forget anyone, let's check out the configurator and show what work's been going on in here. I haven't done much of the configurator stuff. That hasn't been my forte as much. But yeah, here you go. Nerdcopter, Andre, Gretel, Low Twice, me. I've mainly added those little those help buttons that you can go over. I've mainly added some text to those. I'm not sure what these three guys have done, but I'm grateful they've been helping. It's awesome to see more people come in and help. Lastly, though, we have the Nemesis GUI, which is going to be the GUI for version 1 and our new GUI going forward. A lot of work's been going on here. And if we look at the insights, we'll see a new developer, MR Richo. Ornery D, he was the Helo developer that originally started this project. If we just want to look at our stuff, we've got not me at all, actually, just MR Richo, Nerdcopter, and Andre again. They've been helping out a ton. MR Richo, he's been doing a lot of really cool things, been really pushing it. He's been totally awesome. I'm really grateful for the work he's been putting in. I'm excited to see where Nemesis will go. Yeah, that should answer the question of our developers and pilots and whatnot. How many hours of work per versions? Tons. No real number. If you count the flight time hours, probably thousands between everyone doing different things. I mean, we're drone pilots. We love flying. So these have many hours of testing, if you count that. And then if you're asking about which influences have the usual industry work in your algo, if by that you mean What industries do algorithms and code similar to us? A lot does. Robotics, planes, chemical engineers, power plants, almost everything these days uses some sort of controller. And that sort of math can be looked at in the light of control theory. And that's what makes our drones fly. So everything, your cruise control on a car to the plane's autopilot to even your thermometer in your house, that's all some sort of control. So you can learn a lot just by looking up control theory, watching videos on that sort of stuff. There's a lot there. Why are we open source and why are we staying open source? Well, we're a fork of Butterfly, which is why we're open source. Why are we staying open source? I'm not going to rewrite all the code to make EmuFlight fly again. And being open source, we have access to lots of new people being able to come in and help. If we were closed source, it's much harder to find new people willing to help. And I'm not making this my full-time job. So I'm not making money off of this. So yeah, it's not going closed source. Regarding your goals, what's the great deal with the V1? V1 will be, EmuFlight version 1 will be the moment where EmuFlight is now up to date with everything Betaflight has. People online will no longer be able to say EmuFlight's just Betaflight 3.5 with good defaults. People will no longer be able to, say whatever crap they want about it, because none of that will be true to any extent, which a lot of that already isn't. But yeah, everything the Betaflight has, all the hardware support, all the nice features that you might have had in Betaflight that was missing in EmuFlight, all of that will be in EmuFlight, which will be awesome. So version 1 will basically be the best of Betaflight and EmuFlight put together for a really, really solid version. And from this point going forward, we'll be keeping up with Betaflight as they update. So hardware support that Betaflight has, we will have as soon as they have it. Stuff like that. It'll be really nice. Next question, when is an official brand of flight controller, this isn't worded super well, but basically when will EmuFlight have an official flight controller with EmuFlight pre-installed? Don't know. We would like to see that sooner than later. Our dream sort of flight controller that we've talked up is H7, because that's the future and it'll be supported in version 1. It also includes this new gyroscope, the ICM 42688P. It's a 32 kilohertz capable gyroscope. If you look here at the noise readings, it's got a 2.8 millidegrees per second RT hertz per RT hertz. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but basically it's got 2.8. Now if we come here and look at the ICM gyro, the ICM 20602, this guy, which is the more common, gyroscope, that's got 4. So that's 4 versus 2.8. That's quite a difference. That is quite a difference. So this should be a much better performing 32 kilohertz gyro than what is currently out there. So our hope is to have something like this, probably with 2 gyros, so we can sample both. And as well, if you just want to look at things, this gyro I really think is going to start being the future once it gets added and flight controllers start using it, because the MPU 6000, as you can even see on the website, it's not recommended for new design. Why is that? Well, it's no longer supported. It's end of life product. It's going away. So eventually this gyro is going to disappear. You won't be able to buy it. And if you do buy it, currently, if you buy 1,000 of them, it costs you $5.50 per gyro. Now if we look here at the ICM 4288P and we go to DigiKey, just to keep prices similar, and we look at ordering 1,000 of these, it costs us $3.20. That's $2.30 different. Now, if you're making a whole bunch of flight controllers and you can save $2.30, Saves you a lot of money. Look at this. You buy 1,000 to make 1,000 flight controllers. It costs you 3,200 for the gyros. You go with the MPU 6000. That costs you 5,500. You're saving a couple $1,000s by switching what gyro you're using. And this gyro should be able to perform better than what we currently have. So I'm really hoping that things like this start moving and this sort of becomes the future of what we're using rather than just the MPU 6000. Moving on to the next question, could GitHub have a day-to-day or week-to-week graph about the number of downloads, blah, blah, blah. Well, our configurator, we don't actually track that much about you because we didn't want to do a whole bunch of data tracking on our users. So we didn't feel that was the best way to do things, you know, give you guys more privacy. But what we do have is you can go to Samsubra, this website. You'll just need to type in this much. Is the old name of EmuFlight. Anyways, you just type in this, you get to this website, you can see the number of downloads for EmuFlight. You can look at the various versions, you can scroll around, do whatever, have fun. If you want to look at our configurator, type in emu configurator, get the latest release stats. There you go. Come to this website if you want to see number of downloads and such. You can even look up another project like, say, iNav. Here's the number of downloads for the latest iNav release. There you go. It's right there. You can even look up Betaflight or whatever you want. It's right there. Next question, money questions. How much to exist, how much to improve quicker? Yeah, we're not making money off of this. I mean, we have a Patreon. You can help us out there. We're hoping to have products in the future, and that'll also help us out. How the RX signal is managed by an open source firmware. Well, if you look at Ghost firmware was actually added by the company that created Ghost. They added the Ghost firmware to Betaflight. So they didn't have to touch it all. It makes it easy. That's what a lot of people are doing when they add their receivers and their specific things. Otherwise, they give us all the data that's needed to get that to work. Alright, why is ESC protocol not developed by the same team that make a firmware in order to be more accurate? From A to Z. Yeah, why don't we control the whole chain of things? Basically, it's manpower. And BLHeli32 is currently closed source. So we can't write that code even if we wanted to. And we just don't have the developer base to be able to do that. What mean a collaboration with a kind of users, Project Mockingbird? Well, for those of you that don't know, Project Mockingbird is a really well-known Whoop pilot and an advocate for angle mode. So when a user like Project Mockingbird really likes EmuFlight, and when they want to help us improve angle mode, I can go to them for suggestions, help code some of their suggestions, and collaborate together to get the best working angle mode. When we have one of the best angle mode pilots giving us direct feedback, we can collaborate better features and better code much quicker. That's what we've done in EmuFlight to give EmuFlight that better angle mode that is just better than Betaflight. And no one will, you know, anyone that's flown Betaflight and EmuFlight in angle mode, they'll agree that EmuFlight's angle mode is better. Feel you that sometimes other firmware could try to copy yours with some minor change, and how would you manage to do it softly? So yeah, other softwares could take our changes. Betaflight has actually done that a little bit. The NFE mode was first added to EmuFlight, then to Betaflight. Another thing is the battery sag compensation. That was first added to EmuFlight, then it was added to Betaflight. So yes, stuff can get copied over and ideas can get moved around. That's totally fair. That's how open source works. How have I dealt with this? I've spoken actually directly to NFE, the developer of Silverware, and he helped me make angle mode and emu flight better. And I took a lot of his code and a lot of his ideas, not the code line for line, but took his code idea, implemented that in emu flight, made some changes here and there, and that's the basic idea with how emu flight angle mode works so much better. Rather than reinventing the wheel, we can look at what others have done and done successfully and just work off of that. That saves us development time, saves us resources, and we know we're going to get a good product by the end of it. So that's why working or collaborating with other open source projects can be great. And preset for flight control with barometer regarding altitude, that question doesn't really make sense. Just set up your GPS mode with a barometer enabled and you should be good to go with defaults. And Josh Hodgson is asking, will there be a decent tune for 10-inch quads? That goes back to the first question that was asked, and the answer is maybe. It depends on what Mad Chiller and some other big drone guys decide to do. Second part of your question, with Betaflight, you find there's too many choices / implementation of things that make Betaflight pretty confusing. Will EmuFlight go the same way eventually, or will it stay quite simple? Well, the goal is to stay simple, and if you've spoken to anyone like UAV Tech, they'll actually tell you that EmuFlight is less simple than Betaflight, which to you might sound crazy. And I really do think that it's just a point of view thing. For instance, EmuFlight has iTerm relax. We just have two settings. We have pitch and roll and yaw, right? And you set up your cutoffs for both. That's it. Two settings, you're done. In Betaflight, you don't have an option to separate yaw from pitch and roll. You just have roll pitch or roll pitch yaw combined. So they might say, oh, you're splitting up that, so you're more complicated. However, they have two different modes for iTerm relax that you can choose between. They have really three different modes. They have set point, gyro, and then they have increment and no increment. So basically one version means if iTerm relax is locking iTerm from moving and iTerm wants to decrease, we'll let it decrease. The other mode says if it's decreasing, we still lock it. We just lock the iTerm once iTerm relax kicks in. So that gives you the option to choose set point or gyro, then to choose an increment mode or don't choose the increment mode. That leaves you with a lot of options, and they've kind of tested and proven that one option works better than the others. So in EmuFlight, we've come along and went, okay, one version works better than all the rest. That's the only version we will allow. It's just been proven it's better. So we won't even give an option to use something worse. I think that's one way that we have to go about making things simpler. Another example is in Betaflight, they have integrated yaw and what's it called? Integrated yaw and absolute control. We've removed both of those and don't really see any need for them. So just removing some potential switches that you shouldn't or will never play with, that just makes things look cleaner and look simpler. So for a large part, we're just forcing users to use what's best, which I think makes sense and is the way to go. Another way we're trying to stay simple, I'm actually working on a new method for PID tuning that uses ratios. So you just tune, say, a PD ratio and a PI ratio and then a gain. And the gain will increase your PI and D altogether. Your PD ratio changes the ratio of P to D. PI ratio changes the ratio of P to I. So you increase PD, you increase your D term. Increase PI, increase I term. Increase the gain, you move all of them. Personally, for myself, tuning this way, it's been a bit simpler, and I think more people will get a good result from that. Another thing to consider is, I totally forgot what that train of thought was going to. But I'm also trying to do something similar for the filters, where you'll be able to just move a few sliders more or less to get a good filter tune, and just simplify things for the users. So I hope that answers your question, Josh. Anyhow, that, is the AMA. So let me know if you'd like to see future AMAs, what you thought of this one. If you have new questions for me, let me know. I thought this was kind of fun, but yeah, have a good one, everyone, and thanks for watching.